Hey, how's it going today, guys? This is Mr. Whitemare coming back at you with another disturbing Yu-Gi-Oh video. So today we will be going over my top 10 most disturbing cards in Yu-Gi-Oh. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So at number 10 on the list, we have what I think is a little bit of low-hanging fruit, is Parasite Parasite. So it's not so much for this artwork in particular, because he's just kind of a lowly parasite, nothing too disturbing, right? It's more for this artwork right here. So this is the Lost Art, or the OCG artwork, and this shows what Parasite Parasite can actually do. And so to me, this artwork is absolutely disturbing because it does kind of give you a terrifying look into what it's like to be completely consumed by a parasite. It literally feeds off of your resources to the point where it eventually just becomes you. It sucks away your entire essence. So I think this artwork does a great job showing the pain and kind of the insanity that this guy is going through. So Parasite Parasite itself, it has a very parasitic effect. It does say that it's a flip effect monster, so when it's flipped face up, you put it face up in your opponent's deck, and then when they draw it, it goes to their field in defense position, and then they take 1,000 points of damage of every single turn while the card's on the field, and all of their cards become insects as well. So it is truly parasitic, gives you a very interesting outlook into what it's like to be completely consumed. So at number 10, we have Parasite Parasite. So next up, at number 9, we have Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby. So when I looked at this card, I honestly had never noticed that its stroller is actually made up of limbs. So it actually has arms and limbs for the legs of the stroller. And then obviously there's teeth on the hood of the stroller and the lower part too. So it gives you this idea that the stroller itself is alive. So the baby itself is obviously very creepy. It has like the one hollow eye and the one good eye. What's odd about this though is that this card is not a zombie, it's a machine. So this card was designed, or this baby was designed by somebody, and it makes you wonder who. So if you guys happen to know, if there's anything in the lore that ever shows who designed the gimmick puppets, I would love to know, because I think that they are kind of creepy. And then one little thing I noticed too, is that the onesie that the baby is wearing is almost kind of this like inmate-esque kind of onesie. And spoiler alert, but we're going to look at Illblood later, and Illblood has a very similar jumpsuit, very similar stripes and color to this baby's. So I wonder if there's some kind of connection to Illblood and this baby, or whoever made it. But at number 9, this baby is pretty dang creepy, deserves a spot on this list. So Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby. So coming in at number 8, we have one that a lot of you guys will know. We have Necroface. So Necroface, I get the vibe that this was not a living being at one point. It was probably a doll. But at the same time, parasites, which it seems like this is infected by one, parasites tend to infect living hosts. And so while thinking about this, it did make me wonder if Parasite here, Parasite, I wonder if this is what has infected Necroface. It's not exact, and I do think that like there's a lot of like kind of like pustules and everything coming out of Necroface's head, which does give you the interpretation that there is living flesh in there. But as far as like the tendrils and the tentacles go, I think it looks very similar to Parasite. So was this baby infected by a parasite? I don't know. But what makes Necroface so scary is obviously its face is that of an infant or a doll. And I think that that in itself is rather terrifying, but when you look at the expression in the eye of Necroface, it's this vacant expression. And so you can imagine that if you were infested by something like this, I assume a parasite, that once your brain is gone, all you would be left with is this vacant stare. And I think that is the truly disturbing aspect of this card. So, at number 8, Necroface. At number 7, bit of a throwback, we have Dark Necrofear. So, Dark Necrofear came out in Labyrinth of Nightmare a long time ago, which is a notoriously creepy set, and features a lot of cards that Bakura used in the anime. And so, a thought that occurred to me when looking at Dark Necrofear, and I'd read some things online and people have speculation that the baby in this picture is actually Necroface. So I don't know, because you do see that part of the baby's head is missing, and it could correlate to this spot in Necroface's head that's missing. So maybe Parasite took up residence in the Dark Necrofear's doll baby, and it became Necroface. I don't know, but I thought it was a very interesting take. But another interesting factoid about Dark Necrofear is that later on, in Legendary Duelist Immortal Destiny, Dark Necrofear had 2 more cards come out, or I guess a couple more. But they had Curse Necrofear, which this looks like a spirited version of Dark Necrofear that left its corporal body. And you can see that it happened to both her and the baby both. So I find that kind of fascinating, and I wonder what the lore would be behind that, like why Dark Necrofear moved on. But then you can see in Sentence of the Doom, she's using a Ouija board. I don't know where the baby is in this picture, but it's very interesting that they incorporated Dark Necrofear and the Spirit board, or the Destiny board, like the final board, like the Spell and Trap version of Exodia to win the duel. They kind of made her the arbiter of this, which I find very fascinating. So there's very interesting lore behind Dark Necrofear, but overall, I mean, for this this alien woman that carries around this mangled doll, and then apparently conspires with spirits to use Ouija boards and things like that, very disturbing in its own right. And I did see a little bit of a factoid as well, that in the Japanese manga, Yami Bakura, before summoning her, refers to her as the Queen of the World of the Dead, or the Queen of Fiends. So I find it interesting that this card of all cards would be considered the Queen of Fiends. To me, she looks more alien-esque than Fiend, but who am I to say? So at number 7 on the list, we have Dark Necrofear. So next up, this is another one that, based on the artwork in front of you, it doesn't really look very scary. It's the artwork right here that is actually the more disturbing artwork. So with Gimmick Puppet Dreary Doll, in this artwork it looks like she's in like a gift box and a little battered or something like that, a little injured, but no big deal. But then in the artwork to your right, you can see that she has blood on her, and she's no longer in a gift box, but she's in a coffin. So the disturbing thing for me is that, once again, similar to the Terror Baby, she is a machine gimmick puppet. So why is she covered in blood? Last I checked, machines don't bleed. So that makes me venture to guess that it's not actually her blood on her outfit, it is somebody else's. And it just gives me this image for some reason of, you going down into your dark basement, and then all of a sudden you see her just rise out of her gift box or coffin, and she has blood all over her dress, and she's looking at you with her one good eye. So, kind of an interesting card, but at number 6 we have Gimmick Puppet Dreary Doll. So another bit of a throwback here. At number 5 we have Helpoemmer. So this guy, what I think makes him interesting is that almost this piece of rubble that he's attached to, or I don't know if he's actually attached to it, because in the artwork you really can't even tell if he's attached or if he's forced by some kind of invisible force against this thing. But it almost gives him the appearance of being crucified. And I can't help but get the impression that he's suffering in this picture. I've always thought this artwork is kind of interesting compared to a lot of old artwork in Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, I've never been scared of him. I've just always kind of felt bad for Helpoemmer. For some reason, he just looks like he's suffering. And if you notice too, he has multiple mouths on his chest, and so he has a total of 3 mouths. And so in my mind, I just wonder, was he turned into this, or is this some kind of being from another world, and for some reason he's being held captive against his will and being tortured? I don't know. But seeing as how this card was also used by Yami Bakura in the anime, I assume that his backstory, if he does have one, is probably not a very happy one. So at number 5 on the list, we have Helpoemmer. So next up, I told you guys it was coming, but we have Illblood. So this card is freaky for obvious reasons. I like to think that the creature here is Illblood, But then this creature within him, I don't know if that is actually considered Illblood or if that is like a demon or a spirit. I'm not too sure. But you can see here that he's wearing almost like an inmate jumpsuit, and then he has a little ball and chain on his leg, which indicates to me that he is being held captive against his will. A lot of these cards seem to have a similar trend here with that. So when I was looking up some lore about Illblood, apparently there's a translation that says that Illblood in other languages translates to the Guardian of Limbo or the Guardian of the Gates of Hell. And so it does make you wonder if maybe he's being held, this creature right here on the outside is being held captive against his will, and for some reason he has to contain the gates of hell from opening. Why it comes from the zipper of his jumpsuit, I don't understand. But a very interesting card. And if we look back too, with the Terror Baby, you guys can see what I mean here. They have very similar outfits. It's that same kind of inmate jumpsuit kind of thing. And so I wonder if there's a correlation with that, but I never noticed that until I was getting these cards out to do this video, but I thought it was an interesting take. So if you guys happen to know anything, I would be very happy to know any kind of correlation between these cards. But one last little note on Illblood. To me, and I wonder if this was the intention, is that the creature coming out of his jumpsuit, it almost has this this vibe from the Jack Nicholson movie, The Shining, you know, where he breaks down the door with his axe, and then all you can see are his large manic eyes and kind of his like smile. And I think that was probably the goal of this card, is to do some kind of play off of that. But if that was the goal, then that's a fantastic take by the artist, and definitely one of the most unique arts in Yu-Gi-Oh! But based on the creature coming out of his jumpsuit, it is very disturbing. So next up, we have another bit of a throwback here. We have this terrifying doll, the Malice Doll of Demise. And so this guy, I think we can all agree, especially if you're born in the 90s like I was, this guy was probably based off of the Chucky movies in some fashion. Not that all crazy possessed dolls need to be based off Chucky, but I think he was kind of like the OG for the time. So this guy, I'm honestly very shocked that Konami printed something this horrifying, because they have been known to censor and edit everything, because apparently in North America we are not allowed to see anything risque or satanic or considered satanic or creepy or evil like this. So I'm very shocked that they kept this incredibly sharp looking axe in his hand. I would think that normally they would give him a blunt object or like put flowers in his hand or something ridiculous, you know, but just to have this absolutely insane looking doll full of malice holding this super sharp axe, I think he's actually more terrifying than Chucky. That's my honest opinion. So at number 3, we have Malice Doll of Demise. So our last two, we're gonna go ahead and do together. And you guys might see this one coming, but we have Outer Entity Azathoth and Outer Entity Nyarla. So these are very interesting. I did a little bit of research on these guys because they are so out of the ordinary for Yu-Gi-Oh! And these were actually based on the American horror writer H.P. Lovecraft's creation called Cthulhu Mythos. And so it's almost like this world that he wrote about and created, where there's these where humans are insignificant, and there's these outer gods, or these great ones, so to speak, that they kind of pull the strings and they do all of the deciding without us knowing or anything like that. Just like a different variant of gods. And so for me, when I first heard this, my mind immediately went to the From Software game Bloodborne, one of my all-time favorites. And so upon doing a little bit of research, I did find that even Bloodborne is based off of the H.P. Lovecraft lore. I thought that was completely fascinating. And so both Bloodborne and these cards in Yu-Gi-Oh!, they have very similar things with these great ones, or these outer entity gods. They're always kind of endless and boundless in their artwork and in their depictions. Like Nyarla here, so many mouths and tentacles and kind of this malicious intent you can feel from the card, and like this kind of just creepy smile. But it's boundless and endless, and it's something that humans apparently are incapable of understanding. And Azathoth is a very similar way, not as boundless as Nyarla, but just kind of this endless heads and mouths and eyes, and I think it's just a very interesting take. And again, like, these came out in Shadows and Valhalla just out of nowhere, and I think that they are so unique, but I think that they are two of the most disturbing arts in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I love the lore behind them, and I find it completely fascinating. And so one little last bit is apparently Azathoth is the parent of Nyarla. In the H.P. Lovecraft lore, Azathoth is known as Azathoth with an H at the end of it, and then Nyarla is known as Nyarlathotep. So very interesting, but you can tell that the artists or whoever designed these cards, they dug really deep, as H.P. Lovecraft, he was around in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So as far as the designers of these cards for Konami, for Yu-Gi-Oh!, I give them a lot of credit. For the people that do Bloodborne, that dug this deep to find this stuff and this lore, absolutely incredible. And so one last thing about Azathoth, and then we'll be done here. But apparently Azathoth is actually the ruler of all outer gods. He's said to dwell within the center of infinity, blindly creating and destroying existence in its dreams. And his awakening would mean the end of all reality. So not only are these artworks kind of creepy, but the story and the lore is fascinating. And then also too, you know, we'll have some pictures, more detailed pictures, so you guys can actually see these guys, because I think the artwork with the Secret Rare holographic, it's kind of hard to see them exactly. But I'll pull up a couple of graphics and you can see the detail in these guys, because it's phenomenal. So 1 and 2, Outer Entities, Azathoth, and Nyarla. So anyhow, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video. Comment down below, let me know your favorite one of the bunch. Are there any honorable mentions? Any disturbing cards that I forgot on the list? I would love to know. But otherwise, guys, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.